I'm living in this $1 million home in this luxurious neighborhood. I hate my life. I'm empty. I'm unfulfilled. I felt trapped. Positive thinking, vision boards, visualizations, binaural. I did these things for decades and saw such little change.
So what you're calling as blocks. So in my book, The Quantum Wealth Code, I call these the karmic baggage. The conditioning that you have gone through, that is blocking you. Hard work is not the key to success. It's just your life force energy. Your understanding of yourself is just blocking it.
My psychologist told me that you don't need
situations don't worry me.
So zero panic attacks. Brilliant.
I'm able to do more. Phenomenal change in a very short period of time.
I can't just describe it words.
Welcome to this podcast. The reason we are here is because I help people transform their lives, bring a new birth to themselves, and come in their power and operate out of conscious choice, a conscious intention. And I thought I'll invite you to this conversation because you have got a beautiful story. You are one of those people who have been given lemons by life and who has turned those lemons into lemonade, which makes it very interesting, very inspiring story. So thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. I would like to give it over to you. I would like to understand what were the challenges you were facing? What was your life like?
I was born in Greece to a family. My mother was married and then she divorced and was with another gentleman who did not want children. He convinced her to have 2 abortions, and the 3rd child, she decided, I do not want to abort this one. He won custody of me when I was born, and at 6 months old, put me into an orphanage. I was adopted at the age of 2 by a German family in Texas. When you're in the womb, you don't have any vocabulary, you don't have no way of articulating things, but you're still feeling stuff. I didn't know what I was feeling. I just knew I was feeling something. And that to me was life. My first experience of life was probably the scenario of my mom and dad talking about, I want this child. I don't want this child. So whatever goes on, I was feeling it. When I was 4 years old, my mom gave me an Elvis Presley GI Blues album. That ignited something in me that made me think, I want to do that. I want to entertain. I want to play music. I want to be in movies. I want to travel. I grew up in an extremely restrictive, strict, dictator-like religious environment. If I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. That wasn't a joke. Everything was, this is what you think. This is how you live. Everything. Total. So I went through life realizing that I don't really have a voice. There's no ownership because this is what you do. I made all A's in school. I came in first in competitions. My piano teacher told my mother, your child is a prodigy. He's like Mozart. And my mom would respond to everything with, we expect that. So in order to realize, how am I going to live like this? I had to start creating these, I'll call them personas. I had to wear a mask because I had to cover what I was really feeling. And I thought, maybe if I'm better than number 1, I'll be accepted. That was futile, but at 9 years old, you don't realize that's a losing battle, right? So I just kept doing that. And then my dog died when I was 9 and my mom said, stop crying. So now I can't express my emotions. I created another identity, the intellectualizer, where I had to think my way. Okay, I'm at a funeral, so I should be sad. I'm at a party, I should be happy. Another false identity. And as things would progress in my life, by the time I was 17, I had already created the avoider, the pleaser, the perfectionist, the overachiever, the pretender. What happened, Bramharishi? I did not know I was no longer me. Because these identities disguise themselves so well, you start thinking that's who you are. So now I'm in high school getting ready to graduate. I wanted to play music. The church told me that's satanic, and my school counselor said music is not a career. Okay, so what's available? Engineering, law, and accounting. And I thought, I don't want to do any of those things. So I decided, okay, accounting. And I went to school and IBM came on campus. I started working at IBM in 1979. I was an administrator, I was an engineer, I was a salesperson, became an instructor, started my first company in 1993. Then I joined a startup in 94, and in 97, I joined another startup, became a principal owner, and I was board of directors, VP of education and training in the 2003, another startup. I was a VP exec. My life was just going and going, and I was really good at everything I did. And people would say, you must love what you do. And I said, no, really, this is not what I want to do. So now it's 2004. I'm living in this $1 million home in this luxurious neighborhood. And I'm thinking, I hate my life. I'm empty. I'm unfulfilled. But I felt trapped because if I would tell anybody around me how I felt, they'd say, you should be grateful, man. You should be appreciative. Look at what you had. So I felt trapped. I had no one to speak with. So then finally, I started realizing I got to do something. And so that's where I got to that point where I'm not letting my...
Wow. That really shows the importance of understanding that environment and circumstances and people around us lead us to create some unconscious identities, which we are not, but we get trapped in it. And now that's your life. And you're not happy because even though you have everything, it's not aligned with you. It's completely out of alignment.
Exactly.
Wow. If you are feeling stuck in your life or career, overworked, underpaid, and wondering if you'll ever be able to break free, what if I told you that by aligning with your purpose and being of service to others, you can live a joyful, fulfilling life where you can not only replace your salary addiction, but scale it to making 6-7 figures without the hustle and grind? Sounds impossible, isn't it? That's why we have created a free mini course that will walk you through the strategy and the framework. Claim it now because it's available for a limited time only. Link in the description box below. If you are feeling stuck in your life or career, overworked,
Exactly.
so then what happened? This is a scenario which I call a victim of circumstances. Circumstances have imposed so much on you that you are stuck. And this is not an easy place to get out of. A lot of people suffer from this. I would say majority of the world, in a way, is living a forced identity in some way. So then how did you go from, okay, I'm trapped in an identity, to understanding who I am, and then how did it evolve from there?
I think before I came to this world, I must have made a decision with myself saying, look, you're going to get really deep into some real deep darkness. And the only way that you're going to come out of it, how when a hypnotist hypnotizes people and they say, when I say this word, you'll wake up out of the trance. I must have done something like that because there were like 3 or 4 instances that happened very close together. Our church had bonfires, meaning anything that was not the Bible, you had to bring it and burn it. All my music, all the books, everything. This is not a movie. It's really dictated, right? You weren't allowed to do anything. The Bible was the book of life. Another friend of mine said, why don't you read this book? I said, well, we're not allowed to do that. Just read the book. It was a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. For about 25 years, I was traveling every week. I leave Saturday, come back Friday. 46 weeks out of the year, I lived in a hotel out of a suitcase. It was good. 5 million airline miles. I'm reading this book on my way to New York. I come back from my project from New York, and the last chapter says, if you're in a situation that is not something you like, you have 3 choices. Accept it, change it, or leave it. I was tired of accepting it. I could not change it. So I decided I'm leaving. Then I saw this Tony Robbins DVD, Get the Edge. The first DVD says, this is not a workshop on positive thinking. And I thought, that's what I thought it was. I'm listening. He says, find out what you want to do, create a plan, and execute it. So this is the first time. And you know how when a person is in jail for all these years and they let them out go, they don't know how to act. So I thought, I knew what I wanted to do when I was 4. So I decided to start thinking for myself, which you're thinking, how could you not think for yourself? Yeah, my story. That's how you cannot think for yourself. When you've been conditioned and indoctrinated. I saw this movie called Angels and Demons. And in the movie, there's a priest that asks a question. He says, do you believe in God? And the guy says, I'm not asking, do you believe in the God that man created? And it was like, wow, that's what I've been doing. One Saturday, the pastor gets up and says, I am your example of God on earth. And it must have been those four things that just got me out of my trance. I decided I got to change my life. But it took me a couple of years. I blamed everybody for my life because I had no responsibility. And after a couple of years, after reading a bunch of books, I thought, maybe I have some responsibility. And then a little bit later, I thought, you know what? And you used the word victim. If you don't believe that you can change your life, you're a victim of the circumstances. When people say, well, I don't think you can change your life, I have a question. Then why are you buying self-help books? If you're telling me you don't think you can change your life, but you're going to seminars and buying books as to how to help yourself, you're in a big conflict. So I had to realize I can change my life. Okay. That was one of the hardest things because I was told there was this outside entity that did everything. So now I'm thinking, okay, if I don't think I can change, I'm a victim and I'll never get out. So I decided, all right, let's say that I can change my life. Then people started coming into my life, mentors, different people, books, seminars. When I grew up, it was, if you want to change your life, you pray. It didn't work well for me. Positive thinking didn't help either. Vision boards, visualizations, binaural, 3x5 cards. I did everything for years. I'm one of those guys that can do something 1,000 days in a row without missing a day. I did these things for decades and saw such little change. And then a huge thing happened. I met this guy. He opened his garage and he had this 1964 Mustang, number 5. And I said, you don't even like American cars. He goes, no, I don't. Why do you have it? This guy in the neighborhood, he was trying to sell it. He couldn't. He gave it to me for free. So you didn't pray for this. I don't believe God. It wasn't in your vision board. What's that? And you didn't visualize it. No. And you weren't even positive. No. So now, all this foundation of you got to do all these things to manifest just crumbled. Here's a guy that didn't do anything. Nothing. So here is all these years and decades of people telling me you got to do this. It's not true. So I thought, what do I do now? Somebody told me about a seminar, 2012. And the guy said, so what does this guy have that I don't? And the guy says, it's not what he has, it's what he doesn't have. He doesn't have your blocks and mental limiting beliefs. And I thought, okay. So then 4 years of working on myself, and I actually found a person who partnered up with me for 7 years. We met every week. And all we did was just look, see, I can see your blind spots, you can see mine, but I can't see my own. And so for 7 years, every week we met, and all we did was find those blocks, those limiting beliefs, and things just start. Now, I'm not saying don't have a vision board. I'm not saying don't be positive. But if you've got these blocks, it doesn't matter what you do. And once I got rid of those blocks, all the stuff on my vision board started coming in and everything changed. And so that was the shift.
Beautiful. It's so amazing listening to your story. So what you're calling as blocks. So in my book, The Quantum Wealth Code, I call these the karmic baggage. The conditioning that you have gone through, that is blocking you. Hard work is not the key to success or just strategies, mission. If you are stuck in an unpleasant reality and want to break free, discover your highest spiritual truth, Live your purpose and create generational wealth by helping others. Then check out this revolutionary book, Quantum Wealth Code. It's just your life force energy, your understanding of yourself is just blocking it. Even if that's in front of you, you go, I can't go and get it because of these internal blocks. It's amazing you figured out a process with somebody where you could bounce off each other and look at each other's blocks. In my book, I talk about working with our chakra system, the 7 chakras, and activating each and every chakra so that it automatically releases that subconscious block without having to do so much of hard work or without taking such a long time. But I must commend you on figuring out it's my internal blocks causing me to not be able to live a reality that I want. Because that itself is very powerful and it can be a bit scary. Oh, that means I've got some problem inside me that I need to pull out and fix. So a lot of people are scared about going deep within themselves and figuring out, okay, what is the understanding? What is the belief? What is the subconscious structure that I'm carrying, which is blocking me?
And you saying what you said, people are afraid to look inside. That is such a big statement there. Such a big statement, because I was taught only evil is inside you. And I'm thinking, if I'm made in the image of God, how can there be evil inside me? So I started realizing all of those things you were talking about, none of those are any of us. I'm not my anger. I'm not my fear. I'm not any of those blocks, because that's not me. There's nothing I have to do to become me. All I worked on, it's almost like Michelangelo. He says, how did you carve out David? I just removed everything that was not David. That's all I've been doing. Removing everything that is not me. And now, the things that I've seen and I've done in the past 15 years, I didn't even know was possible. You know how you have first grade, second grade, third grade, high school, then you got masters and you got PhD. I needed all of those grades to be able to get those experiences. And then when I finally broke free from a lot of things, now the frequencies, vibrations, energy, and all that stuff, I do grounding and activate my chakras. And I took 2 years of clairvoyant, claircognizant, clairaudience, and clairsentient. We all have it, but I had no idea what it was or what it even meant. Now it's like, I eat when I'm hungry. I sleep when I'm tired. I work when I'm inspired. That didn't even compute to me before, because I didn't know I even had that. So now my life is just totally different. I have several people now that we work with beings from other dimensions. And the things that I've seen, I just heard about them, and I'm doing this stuff. So I work with a lot of executives because in my 25 years of traveling all over the world, I met people just like me, making a lot of money, just as empty as can be. And they would take me aside after the meetings and say, I know I'm supposed to be happy. I'm just not. I go, I know how you feel. Really? I know exactly. Because I went and I tell them my story and they go, that's me. I built this company 20 years ago. I don't even know if I want to do it anymore. I understand. I don't even know me. I know. And so I take them through some of the things that I did. I said, here's what worked for me. I'm not going to say everything works for you, but we can at least connect to yourself physically. I was so disconnected, Bramharishi. I didn't feel anything. I had to shut myself down to survive and function in society in an acceptable manner. So I had to start feeling. There was no, people could be as mean as they wanted. I didn't even know they were being mean to me. So I had to connect to my body first. That took me some time, a couple of years. And then things started happening. Now I see auras and stuff like that. You just see a whole new world out there now. It's just phenomenal. And to work with people in the business world, because not a lot of people want to admit they need help. Some people are embarrassed. And so I come across as a business consultant, not as a therapist. I have been in the business world for 46 years. I taught rocket scientists at Cape Canaveral. I taught AI modeling to scientists with 3 PhDs for 6 years. I can go from the bits on the line, I can build an entire data center and go all the way to the executive and talk in boardrooms. So I have that experience when I come in the room and speak with these people. You understand, I've done most of these jobs, and I know how you can lose yourself in the process. And so then I can work with them and help them. So that I wasn't planning on doing that, but it just morphed into that.
In my book, I call this going from 3D to 4D to 5D, where at a 3D level, you are an object at the mercy of other people's opinions and indoctrinations and judgments. And then that becomes uncomfortable and you go intellectual, right? Everything is thought, everything is, I got to think my way through life and figure things out, have strategies. And then further, I can see you moved into going into 5D. How am I feeling about what I'm going through, what I want to do, how I move? And that's where you come into the world of energy, understanding yourself as a conscious energy, understanding, okay, these patterns, they're also energy blockages and everything. It's so beautiful to see in the story that you've described, going from this basically an awakening progression, going from 3D to 4D to 5D. Did you feel like you're going through a transformation like this of going from 3D, 4D, 5D and consciousness?
Absolutely. I read a book about 5 or 6 years ago called The Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions. I was just getting familiar with this stuff. My partner, this is like probably 12, 13 years ago. Now remember, we weren't allowed to even think about science because that was against satanic. So a friend of hers, she met at a yoga studio, invited us to an ayahuasca ceremony. I didn't even know what that was. We go there and she had this back pain for 25 years because she had lost a child years ago. During the ceremony, they got into the spiritual realms, different times and dimensions, and she realized she had this guilt she had harbored all these years. She released it and the pain went away that moment and never came back. And I couldn't deny it. I couldn't go, wow, because I know her. And I thought, wow, there's stuff going on here that I'm just clueless. So that kickstarted me into that realm. And after that, things just started happening. I read that book, but I read it. And then now we went to some courses in the last couple of years where we're dealing with other beings and other dimensions. The 4D is like the collective consciousness. You start realizing what happens in those dimensions. The sound in dimension, in 7th dimension, and goes into geometry in the 6th dimension. And the 5D is where no duality exists. And the 4D is the collective consciousness in 3D. And then you ground to the 1st and 2nd. Now I can see, I actually have a presentation. I ground myself every morning. I clear my energy field. And I'm like 8th dimension and all this stuff. And amazing to see how everything connects to me. Even AI connects. So now I was teaching these scientists how to develop an AI model. They were having difficulty. I said, have you guys ever taught a child? What do you mean? Simple question. Have you taught a child? Yeah, okay. Child knows nothing. Computer knows nothing. Only knows what you put in. Child only knows what you put in. I said, so you're trying to teach this computer to identify a tank. It was a military base. I said, now, here's what you showed the tank. A tank, the computer, you showed it a tank with a tree, with a building, with a car, and bushes. When you have a baby that's just born, their eyes cannot focus. Why? Because they don't know what they're looking at. They just see pixels. That's what the computer, and as soon as I said that, those guys went. That's why you asked if we've taught a child. Yeah. You're expecting that child to know what all those objects are as you're teaching it. It doesn't know what anything is. Same as and once they learned that, a couple of weeks later, their model started working because they knew how to train the machine. Most people don't know how to train a child either. They think, oh, look at the dog. And the child's going, because they don't know the child's not seeing the dog. The child just sees pixels. You know what I mean? It's
definitely
simplicity. So that's why, to me, everything fits. Technology, science, energy, vibrations, it all fits to me because I've worked in all of it. So I just see it all like in a tapestry, just woven together.
Wow. What you explained so beautifully is end of the day, everything is consciousness. And that consciousness is looking at everything from its perspective. Now, conditioning is defining that perspective. Oh, this is how you should look at this aspect. That is how you should look at that aspect. And sometimes when we grow up around people who are heavily indoctrinated or who have been heavily controlled, that's all they know. Control is the way to move forward. So I'm going to try and have a total control over my child or whoever is in my care. And that just ends up distorting their perception. So now, how is your life now? Like, how has your consciousness, which has evolved into the way you explain, into a multidimensional consciousness, being able to interact with beings outside of our regular sense perception? How do you see your life now? How do you feel inherently about where you are in life today?
That's a really great question, because I now see people in a totally different way, because when someone interacts with me, I now realize that most people are living through whatever false identities, characters, masks they created. So you have such compassion, because when someone flies off the handle or gets angry or is triggered, I smile because I'm going, I know what's happening. You're hearing what I'm saying through the filter, but your dad said, you're an idiot. I can say, you're brilliant, and you're hearing, you're an idiot. Wait, you're brilliant. You're an idiot. And so I recognize that, because I know a lot of people that have been really abused. And I can say these beautiful words, and I know they're not hearing it, because they'll say, I'm not stupid. I didn't say you were. And that's when I realized, okay, they're really not hearing what I'm saying. And so you start having so much compassion for people. And so I think I see life so much nicer, because your heart just goes out to people. And when someone does something, you realize, oh yeah, I read this book, The Body Keeps the Score. And in this book, the guy has a story. He's got a client and they're sitting at a table. She spills some water and he says to her, I'll clean that up. And she goes ballistic. She explodes. After he calms her down, he says, what just happened? And she said, since she was 5 years old, her father was violating her. And after every violation, he would say, I'll clean that. So when I read that story, I thought, so I'm not necessarily doing anything when people explode around me. That brought me a lot of peace, because I was wondering, well, why are you angry at me? And that reminded you of something that was painful. And I'm just going, what did I do? How dare you? What did I do? So now I see things in such a different perspective, because I see now people live just like I did, living through their fears, through their pains, through their whatever it is. All of us wear masks. I want you to think about that. You're different when you're in your family at home. You're different at work. You're different at the gym. And you're probably different around friends. And you realize, well, yeah, I do act different. So we all wear masks, because we know, they know me like this. And so once you start realizing, is it okay for me to be me? Someone asked me the other day, why do you do what you do? And I said, let me tell you what I do. Me being me is the most benefit for humanity, because all of us came here to be ourselves. When we are ourselves, that benefits humanity. So that's what I do. I'm just being me, which I didn't know who me was. So that's why every day, more of me comes out. And there is no destination, because we're always expanding and always extending. So life is a journey. And you and I intersected for a reason. To me, that's what makes life an adventure, is knowing why you and I met. That's part of the beauty of discovery.
So this is for my audience. Wouldn't you like to know the story of somebody who has gone through a huge transformation, going from a 3D mindset where everything is being dictated to you to slowly progressing and liberating their consciousness, freeing themselves up, coming in total alignment with themselves, just being with themselves, just being themselves and operating from that space? How liberating could it be? These amazing stories are in our book. We have co-authored it together. It is called Rebirth. The link to this book will be available in the description box below. It's going to be published soon. Full of exciting stories. If you are finding yourself in a dark episode in your life, this book will help you get inspired. This book will show you, no matter how dark it seems right now, there is a purpose behind it. There is a reason because of which you are going through it. It's an important lesson, but there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. All this hardship is definitely worth it because it is teaching you what the world could not teach you. So, Vangelis, what would be your message to somebody who is watching this, somebody who is going through it right now? We call it the dark night of the soul, or going through all the dark episodes of life where there's no hope. I can't see what's going to come ahead. Why am I going through this in life? What would be your message to them?
My definition of a mentor, I'm not saying this is the definition, but it's my definition. A mentor is someone that has been where you are and is where you would like to go. The reason that's critical is because the eye cannot see the eye. You can't see your blind spots. Find someone that has a story similar to yours because they can take you on that journey. A 12th grader can help anyone from kindergarten up to 12th grade because they've been there. They can't help you past masters and PhD because they haven't been there yet. If a person was born wealthy and you were born without wealth, it's difficult for them to know how to take you on that journey because they can help people make more money, but maybe they don't know what it's like to be, oh my gosh, how can I pay my rent? How can I do this? Find someone who has been where you are and is where you want to go. That's what I did. I found people I could identify with. And then I said, I want to be where you are right now. So that's the first thing I would do, find somebody. That's why we have these podcasts. You can listen to people's stories and go, oh, that's me. I had a lady last week. She became a client. She said, that's me. I've had this business for years. I don't even know if I want it anymore. I don't even know myself. She goes, my gosh, this is my story. That's what it's all about. That's why we give our stories. So everybody has a piece of the puzzle. And maybe the piece that I have, or one of the other people have, is the piece that you've been looking for. So you just keep doing that. And then you work with that person and have them help you to guide you. When you're ready, do it. All right. Some people are not ready. That's okay. But when you're ready, you do it. My advice would be to find somebody that you can work with to help you. Someone that gives you a safe environment, non-judgmental, someone that you feel comfortable. And that will get you started.
Beautiful. Very well said. It was an amazing conversation, Vangelis. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for taking us to the depths of it. What was it like at each and every stage and how it felt to be reborn and come up as your authentic self. It was an awesome conversation. I had an absolute good time talking to you. If you want to recover and heal from the impacts of the toxic corporate grind, then please check out our online store for deeply healing and life transformative offerings. If you suffer from sleep problems, a guided Brahmanidra or quantum sleep journey will not only help you get a deeply restorative sleep, it will also enable cellular regeneration and deeply heal you while you sleep. Or if you want to experience the deep peace that lies beyond the constant chatter of the mind, and experience the clarity that comes from bringing equanimity to your mind, then the guided Samadhi experience will help you unlock deep peace and tranquility within.
regardless of your external circumstances. Check out the Reality Simplified store for more revolutionary and life transformative offerings.